Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Startups on Demand. This time talking to Yoel Israel. He needs no introduction, but I'll do the introduction. He's the CEO of Wadi Digital, the best B2B marketing agency out there for LinkedIn ads, SEO. You guys have been really dominating in the cybersecurity space and in tech in general, right? But what I was about to say is that other than his work in Wadi Digital, he also founded Cyfluencer, which is an awesome cybersecurity influencer platform that maybe you can kind of elaborate later on in the conversation about Cyfluencer and why you built Cyfluencer and where you think Cyfluencer is heading. The main point in this conversation is we're going to talk about where traditional media is heading. That's one. We're going to talk a little bit about the creator economy, which Yoel is super familiar with. And we're also going to talk about Twitter and where we think Twitter is heading. So it's going to be buckle up and enjoy the ride. And happy to have you here, Yoel.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate the introduction.
My man. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about traditional media. So me and you, behind closed doors, we kind of talked a lot about, everyone has every marketer has like a different opinion or where like traditional media is going. I'll tell you what I think is happening right now. If we're talking about like traditional media publications, like the New York Times and Business Insider and all those kind of publications, I think we're starting to see that first of all, they're all going into like premium content. So they're, doing more like paywalls and premium content and those kind of stuff. But I also think they're having trouble. They're having trouble because social media platforms like LinkedIn or Twitter are kind of becoming publishers, by themselves. And I think a big idea that we've recently seen is, I don't know if you saw it, LinkedIn. So they published like a series of like the top startups from like every major city, like this top startups from Tel Aviv, top startups from New York City, those kind of lists. And they went really viral. And the reason I think they went really viral and they're really well positioned is because they already have the audience, right? About like 1 billion monthly website visitors. And they're like, hey, we have the audience. We know it's pretty niche, like business and tech. Why not become a publishers ourselves? And they've like got a lot of traffic and a lot of viral hits from that listicles. They put it out a few weeks ago. So what do you think about everything I just said?
All right, so I agree with some, disagree with the other. One of the New York Times actually doing well. They've been very polarized, very anti-Trump during Trump. They got a lot of subscriptions, and so I think they actually rebounded and are doing okay. I do think subscriptions are the future. There are platforms that are subscription-based just for you to follow your content, such as locals.com, which people should check out. So you can follow content creators, writers, any kind of person that puts stuff out there, and you pay subscription per the person, or they're setting special deals for the whole platform, and then you can get special unique content. In a sense, I think this is like a transformation of what used to be kind of like Patreon and Memberful, which is one of our clients, full disclosure, that basically you're able to connect with your audience directly for a paid subscription. But this is usually an individual, not necessarily a publication. When it comes to publications, you're going to have to provide very good quality content, and you're going to have to be a niche. If you're very generic in like the news, you're not going to get anything. A niche, I mean, you can have like a hard left angle, like the New York Times. You can be very economical, or political, or whatever you want to go with. But I do think subscription is the future. People now, we were very happy to consume the quantity of content over quality during the internet. And as social media came out, it was about, oh, look at all this free shit that used to cost me money and I can get as soon as I want it, and I'll just consume ads. And I think we are now progressing or evolving into probably a new stage of how media is put out, and that will be subscription, meaning you need to provide quality content, quality that someone's willing to pay. I'm specifically, hey, I'm going to give you $3 a month because I want to read the stuff on your website and I don't want to see ads. And in return, you're going to give me excellent content, great analyses. Some of the best writers are going to guest write. You know what I mean? And also, and I think that's fantastic. Additionally, there's a sense of belonging. So I feel that I belong to other people that also subscribe. I'm like in the in group. So if everyone read your newspaper whatever, great. You're not an in-group. You know what I mean? There's an in-group involved, and classism is a part of human nature, unfortunately. And so we do need to keep in mind that this is also makes people want to do that. Additionally, people like to support causes, and I think people are kind of. I think we went through like a GoFundMe stage, and and I think that's kind of calming down, and people would rather want to put causes behind things that are giving them ongoing content and creating things that are built to last, not necessarily a one-off product or a one-off service, but something that I am paying for your publication, and because of that, you'll stay in business, and more people will read similar content that I'm interested in. So therefore, I actually feel actively invested in part of your bigger family. So there's a lot more there. I do think we're totally moving to subscription. When it comes to social media, I do think that people are getting bored of social media, and therefore and I think this goes for a lot of things. People are finding that, Amazon is extremely convenient. One-click delivery and excellent, and their reviews are phenomenal. But you can find the same stuff for cheaper, most of the things on Amazon, right? And people are just starting to learn this, and especially with the recession that we have and inflation, that people are also going to start to look for this. I think some of the giants, they're still going to be giants, but I think there's going to be great other opportunities for you to buy things, for you to consume entertainment. Social media is now going to be transforming into more of a distribution platform. So you can have something, let's say, like the Daily Wire, which is right-leaning, or the New York Times, which is, hard left. And where they do is you'll have a subscription to get all kinds of awesome stuff on their website, but you can still consume stuff from their media on their website, kind of almost like a freemium on their website. And then they use social media very well, both of them, in order for them to get relevant traffic, do remarketing, try to get you to pay for a subscription, or at least they'll break even on the advertising based on the ads that you'll consume on their website. So I think it's a distribution of a way to get more people to find you and to get your stuff out there, because the people that are following you aren't always going to go, to dailywire.com or the NewYorkTimes.com, but they are all frequently going to be signing into their frequent social media platform, whatever that may be. So being omnipresent as a way to distribute your content in a free way that can lead to either ad revenue on your website or on your platform, or even better, lead you to become a subscriber, someone that actually pays monthly for your quality, unique or exclusive content. That is the future. And I think we're already seeing that's been moving in that direction for the last two or more years.
So that is super interesting. And what we've been seeing, I think, when COVID started happening, there was a lot of fake news, and people were worried about, trust in the media and everything. We've saw actually the rise of Substack, right? Platforms like Substack, newsletter platforms. And we've actually seen reporters reporters leaving, some of those established media.
Oh, you're like Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss.
Yeah. They left their, the publications they write for, and they went into a subscription-based model through Substack or whatever. And I'm thinking about, you said the Daily Wire, which is an amazing example. The Daily Wire, in a sense, is not a traditional media company.
Not at all. It's the furthest thing from it. It's actually it's probably the most progressive in not politically, technologically, and with their idea for media. I think where they're taking it when it comes to political news is the future, and everyone across the spectrum and people around the world are watching what they're doing and learning, because they're very smart in how they're in how they're doing it. They understand that. I think they understand, and I think in general, one that really understands media is a war of the minds. And so it's not just news, it's other content, right? So it's education, and it's learning, and it could be books and children's books and podcasts, and you know what I mean, and exclusive interviews, and maybe advanced tickets to events before other people, or you know what I mean? And so there's all kinds of really cool ways, and then other businesses to help them make money on the side. I think they sort of like a razor company, you know what I mean? To kind of in a sense, it gives you an in feeling. Elon Musk is doing the same thing, right? He had the flamethrower for the Boring Company, and now they came out with burning hair cologne, right? And it's kind of like an in thing, and another way for them to make revenue that has kind of almost little to nothing to do with their business. But they're cool products, they're unique products, and they make you, I'm an in-group of the in-group. I'm a Boring fan or Elon Musk fan, let's say, but within that, I'm such a great fan that I'm going to buy a freaking flamethrower, or I'm going to spend $100 on a bottle of cologne that literally smells like burning hair. So there's something about that there. So if you're still thinking of the same paradigm of media and marketing and how you consume content, or advertising including, if you don't understand that, literally there are rapid changes happening in front of you, you may not even notice it. you're going to run into serious issues adapting, and you'll easily find someone that you didn't even recognize leap ahead of you. And you're like, where did this person come from?
100%. And I feel like this, like, so if, for the people who follow me on like LinkedIn and Twitter and read some of the stuff I write about, or the publications that I write for, Hacker to an Entrepreneur, Yahoo Finance, and such, you can see that I talk a lot about like that modern marketing, like the modern, media landscape is built on touch points. Like you said, the Daily Wire, right? So they have their home base, which is the website, which they have like the premium content, but they build like an amazing distribution machine through social media and through being guests on other people's shows, like
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro. They always, they don't only do their own show, they go and be guests on other shows, and tap into more audience. And I think, people need to focus about like today it matters, like quality is important, but quantity is also important, and being able
Of
to
course.
be in a lot of places in the same time and getting those touch points with the audience. I think that's like the modern media publication business and how it will look like. And if I'm like on that same tone and we're talking about like distribution, I'm seeing something super really interesting on Twitter. I'm seeing investors, like pre-seed investors, build a large following and distribution on platforms like Twitter or LinkedIn. Those are the two main platforms that I think are really killing it right now. And you can see how having that distribution power is helping them get better deals and helping them get access for invest in promising startups, because they're not only putting in money, they have the distribution platform to support it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, do you have eyeballs? So, I mean, we discussed this offline, right? Followers and views are fantastic. Eyeballs means you can either sell them things, put ads up. You've access. Someone may want to buy access privately. There's a million things you can do. And then, but even deeper is if you don't just, let's say, entertaining, but people actually feel like they've gained value from your content, they end up actually becoming fans, which we've discussed, which is far more valuable. And I would put one fan is probably, somewhere between 100 to 1,000 the value per one follower, right? Something like that, an actual fan, right? People say if you have 1,000 loyal fans, you can make a career in anything that you do, right? You make out a
Yeah.
book, you make a book, they'll buy you. It's a $2 a month subscription, they'll do it. You know what I mean? You do like, they'll buy some of the merch you put on your website. You know what I mean? They'll share their content on social media. Like, so I think, there are different ways. You can have 1 million followers or 1,000 fans. So there are a different way about to do it. I think let's say you're talking about VCs as an example, I think is fantastic. And in a sense, if you can just say, I'm not just another VC, but I have a personality approach or position, let's say like Mark Andreessen has on Twitter, that he doesn't just have followers that follow him because they're into tech, and into startups, such as myself. I'm a fan of this stuff that I might even just consume an interview that he's on or having, right? Thinking like I see him not just as an investor, but in a way a visionary. He might see projects and things that I don't. So, he recently invested with Twitter for Elon's purchase, which seems like it's back on the table. The same thing with Adam Neumann, and you see what he's doing with real estate. Adam Neumann going to kind of probably make like a WeWork, but more like a WeLive or whatever it's going to be called. And I'm starting to understand and see what people are thinking is going to be the future of housing and urban housing in particular. And how does that affect me? And I invest in a little real estate on the side. So I got to keep that in mind. So I don't just follow. I'm a fan that he's kind of setting a trend or trying to drive some kind of positive change that he thinks that's there and that the market might be interested in. So obviously following that and seeing how, let's say, Mark thinks differently, uniquely, is a phenomenal way for me to be able, for me to see behind the curtain, not just like, oh, we put our money behind this company because X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? A little bit more than that. And I think that's what people are going to be looking for if you intend to lead well into the 21st century. We're 22 years in, but if you intend to lead, you're going to have to understand that you need to take a unique position, not just put out content. You need to take a bold stand. You need to understand you may say things that people will disagree with, people will shit on you. That's normal and that is expected, but that's the only way you're going to be able to make any fans is that for you to step strongly outside of your comfort zone, say things other people aren't, and to do it continuously across platforms and regularly on those platforms.
100%. And but it's actually really interesting because I think it's actually an interesting point you were mentioning about Mark Andreessen that obviously with the new investment into Adam Neumann, with Flow, with his new real estate, he got a lot of backlash like on that investment. But
Literally.
people, yeah, exactly. But let's take Adam Neumann for example, because I think 90% of entrepreneurs that I talk to or VCs that I talk to, they love him. They say he's an incredible
Of course.
entrepreneur.
They look at him and they say, how can I follow things? How can I learn from it? Adapt my unique perspective and experience and do to it. Of course, the haters are they're just
So
haters.
that shows you. So like the point I'm trying to make here with this one is this shows you how sometimes the traditional media is so far-fetched from like what the actual perception is for the people inside the business.
Yep.
And I think, and I think platforms like the Daily Wire or like other new platforms that are going to come, like more, progressive media outlets, they're going to show you the inside stuff that, and they're going to kind of like decentralize what people, what the
Yep.
news
Behind the
is.
scenes.
Yeah,
I mean, the
100%.
people want to see behind the scenes. They want to see how the sausage is made. They want to see what, like off the cuff conversations like we're having now, right? Kind of like that people are having. People want, that's what people are looking for. They want authentic. They want raw. They want longer form content. So it's not just okay. Let me help you sell your book, but let me understand how you think and why you think that way. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't think that many people take and consider that, but there is a sense of like expanding how you see things, that there's like a aha moment to it, regardless of what those perceptions or your opinions are. And so I do think that, yeah, we'll see more and more of that.
100%. So now I want to talk a little bit about, before we close things off, I want to talk about Twitter. We're both really bullish about Twitter. And I'll tell you why I'm really bullish about Twitter. Twitter's algorithm cuts through the bubbles.
No, no, it doesn't.
It does.
Strong, hard disagree. Okay, go ahead.
I tell you why. I tell you what I think. When you post on LinkedIn, you have your followers seeing your content. And it's usually when people, and we talked about it, me and you, when you publish your content on LinkedIn, you're going to usually have the same 60, 70, depends what your followers are, right? Like 60, 70, 100, 120 likes from the same people, from those same groups, from those same, people that interact with your content. On Twitter, since I started tweeting frequently, I've been exposed to a much larger number of people who are not in, my usual engagement circle, we'll call it.
How many times you tweet a day?
Two times?
Twice.
Twice.
Okay. And how many times do you reply to comment? Do you reply on other people's tweets?
Maybe 2 or 3 replies a day.
Okay, so you do two original tweets and 2 replies a day?
Something like that, yeah. Maybe
Okay.
3 replies a day.
Okay. No, I'm just curious of what it means when you do that. I understand, like, there is Twitter has a lack of hierarchy, with the exception of check marks. But there is. Like, if you think about it, a handle for a business is identical on Twitter than an individual.
Correct.
Savings and access. It's not like that LinkedIn, Facebook, right? It's a different thing.
Yeah. And Instagram is also like that, by the way.
Right, that's true. Also Instagram, right?
Yeah.
We're comparing to LinkedIn, we're thinking B2B, but that's true. It kind of removes that hierarchy. So, and in general, I think so. There is a way for you to reach new audiences, and I think the best way to do that is actually why I asked how you reply to content. But I've changed my algorithm. I can do it in order of date, so it's less of a bubble. Because if I just spend, let's say, Kanye's anti-Semitic tweets, right? So I probably liked and engaged with a bunch of related shit about anti-Semitism. So now I'm going to start to see for like a couple of days. It was pretty active. It consumed my media. So now I'm going to start to see more content related to that. But I don't want to. I was interested in that in the moment, and now it made me a bubble of this content, which I would, let's say, like to see 10% things related to, I don't know, maybe less about anti-Semitism, less than that probably, right? It's not my focus. It's not a good place to put your energy, well, unless it's very serious. So like, but now that's, if I had the algorithm serve me, that's what it would serve me. And it kind of almost forgets that I was following business or like-minded stuff or politics across the spectrum I was engaging with, or, you know what I mean? Or tech or all these things. And now that's my new algorithm. That's like my new bubble. And you don't
Yeah.
see things other people have. And also you behave like you're in a bubble more because tribalism comes out very naturally, because unlike other platforms, you don't actually feel like there's a human on the other end of it. You
On
do more.
Twitter?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, one, I'm thinking 20% chance the person I'm speaking to is a bot first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like in general, engaging with, let's just say, right? And yeah, I mean, it's just not. I don't know if they're real. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they're feeling. I tweeted like a week ago. I was like, it would be cool before you reply to someone, just like hovered over the last 3 tweets, so you understand a little bit more who they are in their context, like of what they're thinking or what they're up to. You know what I mean? A little bit more
Yeah.
nuance.
I remember
Also, you
that
can't
tweet.
get nuance across on Twitter. Like I
Yeah.
debated with a guy that I really like on Twitter about I don't remember what. Doesn't matter. I think it was kind of political in Israel, kind of, or it was not like political, but like politicking. And then whatever, it came to the conclusion after just like going back and forth 8 times that we agree. But because it was Twitter and you have those limitation in characters and the way you consume things, he didn't understand what I was saying.
Mhm.
I didn't really then I didn't understand really where he was coming from, because I thought he was coming as a hate. Like it was just dumb, and it made me, so childish. At the end, I just like apologized. Like we clearly, looking back at original tweets, like we actually agree. We were actually
Yeah.
coming from 2 different places, and we actually agree. And it was very fascinating. But Twitter just does that to people, and I took responsibility because I originally tweeted, and so I see the bubbles in Twitter much greater. I'm still trying to learn and figure it out. What I hate is that people think like, unlike Facebook, or even more like, you like something, kind of like I'm sure showing support for something. It doesn't mean I actually like something, right? I retweet something. I was like, yo, this is worth looking at. You know what I mean? Like Kanye's anti-Semitic retweet. I want people to know and see that. I would like to retweet that, but I can't because it was removed, right? But people might think that's an endorsement. Like I want, like they can
Well,
ruin it
you can quote. You can quote
Yeah,
the.
you can take a screenshot. Someone else took a screenshot, right?
No, you can do like when you retweet. There's an option to add your own kind of
Yeah, yeah,
insight
yeah.
to
But I
there.
can't do that anyway because his tweet was removed. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
in any way, so like, so um, it's just I'm still trying to figure out Twitter. I think the biggest problem for Twitter, which I think Elon will solve, well, there are many, but let's say the one that, and I think that's why we like Twitter. We talked about like we're like there's like the in crowd when it comes to subscription, is that like 15% of the West is on Twitter active, like tweets once a week, less.
So like,
Like,
there's a lot of potential, and like, there's a lot of.
well, there's a lot of people there that like I think some things like if you're active on Twitter, something's a little off with you. I don't mean that in a negative way. You're not so type A probably.
If
I don't
you're
know.
not if you're not active, what? I don't
No, if
understand.
you are, I should take that back. Not type A. That's the wrong word. But there is the kind of like there is a like way like you think about things. They're a little more like into ideas and like politicals, not interested in people. If you're interested in people, because you're on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? If you're
Yeah.
interested in like business and look at me and status, then you're on LinkedIn, right? But I think like if you're interested in ideas, you're on Twitter. There's your quote. So you know what I mean? So it's like there's something about that. Even if I disagree with your ideas, I want to be expanded because like there's something about that that's unique, and I think that's why they are having trouble finding new people. Also, the platform hasn't seen any significant improvements in like a decade.
Yeah.
So hopefully Elon Musk will be able to change that, where you can kind of feel, I don't know, that you can get more people on, so we can reach more people, because we're
Yeah.
also in a bubble that people that are like, the people that watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians aren't on Twitter. It's on Instagram,
They're on
right?
Instagram. Yeah.
Right. But if
On
I want to,
TikTok.
right, and I don't want to go on Instagram, and I, God hell, won't download TikTok. So, like, it would be great if I could discuss ideas with people that, let's say, are a little bit more ignorant. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that, don't follow probably lucky them, don't follow just like the news of the day or foreign policy. I think they just don't care. And I think it'd be great to bring these people into the fold and engage with them. You know,
Yeah.
people would
I
rightfully criticize me and say, "Yo, then go to Instagram and TikTok," and that's legit criticism. But
yeah.
if we're talking about improving Twitter, I think finding a way to do that would be great. But I'll leave that to Elon.
So just like before we wrap things off, I'll just like add my 2 cents on Twitter and why I'm actually really bullish on Twitter.
Yeah, please.
I feel so. Of course, Twitter has its issues like that you mentioned right now. But I think as a marketer, Twitter, the potential you can have on Twitter just by constantly tweeting on specific, because Twitter is content based, ideas based, content based, interest based, instead of like specific people based. That if you like start talking about a specific niche and you go all in and you kind of get your repetition on
Mhm.
Twitter, man, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you. My LinkedIn account, I think, has about 25,000 plus followers, and since I started tweeting, I saw my LinkedIn account growing, as well. So there's like, because there's more people who learning about my work and stuff.
That's
So
cool.
yeah. So that's it. So like
Okay.
I'm sure like we're gonna have lots of more of this kind of conversations, and we're gonna bring you on, as a guest, because you're really a phenomenal talker and you have a lot of expertise and stuff like that. Is there anything specific you want to kind of say before we kind of close things out?
Uh, Find me on Twitter. Happy to engage.
And
I like
LinkedIn.
people
Yeah.
that kindly disagree. I throw a lot of ideas out there that often I learn are wrong, but that's how I learn is by putting them out there and not keeping them in my head. And if you want about just like marketing, business, and just like tech and random things, also on LinkedIn. I'm active there. Very active on LinkedIn. And yeah, and if you're interested in just like Israeli personalities in English, I have a YouTube channel called Israel Unfiltered. You can go ahead and find it.
Awesome. And for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like a play on words. Yoel
Yeah,
Israel, Israel Unfiltered.
no,
It
no,
took me
no.
some time. It took me some time to get a grasp of that. But yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
Bye, man.